Good morning, this is Jack from Charging the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Thursday, the 7th of August. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers of chartingthemarkets.substack.com, and it's published on YouTube after a delay of 24 hours. Right, okay, so where are we today? Well, we broke back over the daily middle band on Tuesday. We broke back, on Monday. We broke back below it on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we broke above it with more force, and then we have continued up overnight. This is not particularly encouraging for the head and shoulder patterns. I'll talk more about these on the bigger picture charts, but obviously we are opening up a possible retest of the all-time high, and that is not that far away. I have drawn in a trend line here. I'm not expecting this to hold, but I just drew it in case this was a bearish overthrow, but I'm not really expecting it to be. Where would we see that this was actually starting to look okay? That if we saw a break below the monthly pivot at 63.56.75, break and convert that to resistance, and the head and shoulder patterns are back on. In the absence of that, though, they're not. All right, NQ, pretty much exactly the same. Nothing to say. We haven't got any negative divergence here. RTY, we've got a 60-minute sell signal which had fixed here, and we've actually got a nice looking little level top here just under daily middle band resistance. So actually, if I was just looking at that in isolation, I'd be quite liking this as double top. However, we're being led here by SPX and the Qs, and if those break up, then chances are we're going to see this break up too, and we may well see this 60-minute sell signal fail. YM, no current divergence, slightly back above the monthly pivot, less so obviously than the others. Again, this is a test of the daily middle band. Again, I'd be thinking that this wasn't a bad looking setup to see this fail. Again, the leaders here are most definitely ES and NQ. All right, DAX and the SDX both powering up. DAX is well above the monthly pivot here. ESDX went lower, so it's not above. But I think if we see sustained breakups, I'd be surprised not to see a retest of the high on DAX. If we see retest of the high on SPX and the Qs, ESDX less so, but we still got unfinished business at a retest of this high here, which wasn't actually quite managed here. And I did say when we broke down here that this could be part of an overall bull flag, and I'm still thinking that. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Now, let's have a look at the hourly charts first. I drew on the post I did this morning, which I would suggest you both read. I was talking about these three trend lines here. Now, when I did the post on Wednesday last week, I was talking about these high quality trend lines. This one changed slightly at the high, but it's still a high quality three-touch trend line. We've got one of these on SPX, we've got one of these on the Qs, and we've got one of these on Dia. These are all strong resistance trend lines. And I'm still expecting these to be resistance. Obviously, if we have some great news, of which we've not seen a lot lately, frankly. But if we have some unexpectedly great news, maybe these could break. But at the moment, if we saw breaks over those initially, I would be assuming that these are bearish overthrows. These are not trend. These are trend lines that I would generally expect to see respected, unless we, of course, see bearish overthrows. But in which case, they're still being respected. It's just going a little higher over them. That's a routine part of the topping process. The other thing to say is that obviously, just moving back onto the IWM I posted as well. We don't have a nice three-touch trend line there. We could get one with a retest of the existing trend line, or I've drawn in a couple of other decent options, which could be a three-touch trend line as well. If we go up over the current high, which we're not that close to, but getting closer, then I'd be leaning towards seeing one of those three being the final trend line. All right, let's have a look at the daily charts. Now, on the daily charts, we've got, hang on, wait a second. Right, obviously we saw basically a 0.5% break over the over the daily middle band yesterday. On Qs, it was 1%, which is a decent break. So we've gone up overnight. We could still see a hard rejection today. If we see a hard rejection back below the daily middle bands today, these head and shoulder patterns could still most definitely play out. But at the moment, I'm not seeing any signs of that. And I'm not seeing a pattern set up which is strongly suggesting that. We will see. In terms of ES, looks pretty much the same. And while we still have the daily upper band up near the high. That wouldn't obviously be a bar from retesting it. So we will see how that goes. I'm at the moment, unless we see a big reversal today, though, I'm leaning towards seeing retests of the highs. Looking at Dow, we're retesting the daily middle band from below. We almost reached it yesterday. Obviously, this is still an important level. These broke down first, and they'd be breaking back up last, but they haven't broken up yet. The overnight move is suggesting that we're going to see serious tests of those on Dia and IWM today. Looking at IWM. Sorry, I've had charts on different screens today, so I'm just moving all back to this one. Okay, here we came pretty close to a test of that today, and I think we're going to see a gap above it this morning, or at least a full test of it this morning. If we see breaks above here too, obviously those again could fail the next day, but at the moment this is looking like a bullish run back towards the highs, and my working assumption is that that's what we're seeing. So we will see. DAX is breaking back above, well, at least testing the daily middle band on the overnight action. But I think this is the 50 DMA. We're going to gap hard above that today. If we see that breaking converted, then I'd be looking for a retest this high here at 24.6K. And Nikkei, looking at, hang on, where's the daily chart? There it is. All right, we're still some way below, but we might see a retest of 42.1K. We might see a retest of 42.4K. This could also be a larger high forming. I was commenting on the period between August and October. We're overdue a decent retrace here on equity indices, and really I'm expecting to see one form soon, and I'm thinking this is part of the topping pattern. This could potentially make this a bigger high if we go back and retest the high here on Nikkei. There are some other bigger picture ones to retest. Obviously, there's the DAX one, which could get a retest. I'm not really expecting to see a retest on IWM, but if IWM really takes off for some reason, we could see that anyway. So we will see. The obvious targets for a retest in the short term would be the ones on SPXQs and then Dia. All right, great. Let's have a look at DX. Now, strangely, even though DX came down with equities last week, we've been seeing DX continue down, while equities at the moment appear to be breaking up. I've kind of been looking for it to be the other way around, but we are where we are. We've got a head and shoulders which is broken down on DX with the target in about the 96.85 area. We do have a possible weak 6-minute buy signal brewing here. This could be a bull flag, just about. And would it be a bad one? Not perfect, but not awful by any means. So I am wondering if we might break up from that, and I'm seeing a bit of support for that on some of the others. So hang on, I'm just marking this one up here. And let's have a quick look at the others. Now, looking at the euro, I've drawn in the possible flag here too. It's a bit large for a bear flag, but you can see it's slightly breaking down below the rising support at the moment, and we do have a 60-minute sell signal fixed there. GBP USD doesn't look a lot like a flag here yet, but we're getting pretty close to the declining resistance. That could be resistance up in about the 1.346 area at the moment. USD JPY, possible bottoming action here, not seeing anything particularly clear. USD CAD breaking up over what could be flag resistance there. Wondering about this. Would it be a great quality bull flag? No, don't think so. Actually, no, it wouldn't be bad. I'm wondering about a break over this as well, and possible retest of the high there. This would be this is an opportunity to fall back up, and obviously that would be a better match with what we're seeing on equities. Australian dollar, we actually had a double bottom here, and that's already made target. Could have a flag forming here, but nothing particularly obvious. NZUSD, we've made it up halfway to the revised inverted head and shoulder target. Nothing really saying reversal here, and obviously we had a sell signal, and that failed. All right, looking at bonds. Bonds, we saw a spike down yesterday, which was quickly reversed. I'm wondering about a retest of this high to form a double top. This would be a nice topping sequence, and I think overall, I'm not feeling that bullish about bonds. ZN is again leaning bearish here, wondering about a retest the high, set up a double top. But if this rising wedge continues to form, and I drew in this trend line before it hit it, so this is a nice looking rising wedge with a very obvious, although the origin of it has been lost at the beginning of the chart. That's got a nice anchor and it's a retest trend line. Could we be forming a double top, setting up a retest this low? Very much so, yes. Looking at CL. CL, I'm wondering about a possible reversal back up here, but bigger picture, I mean, certainly with the Saudis being fairly obedient when Trump asked them to do things like increase oil production to reduce oil prices. They've been pretty good about doing that, and that, well, I think that's the reason that oil prices have been falling this week, and it's a reason they could continue falling. HO has been holding up pretty well, but we could still easily go down and head off to the targets here, which would be in about the 2.165 area to the 2.2 area on this double top. Looking at RBOB, we reached the trend line here, and look, we had a perfect test of trendline support, and this is supporting the fact that this kind of looks like a bear flag, and this is supporting the bear flag read on this. If we see a breakdown below this rising support in the 2.075 area, the obvious next target would be the bear flag target would be a retest of this low here in the 2.0149 area. This is a nice looking setup, and this is a nice looking pattern, and again I drew in this trend line and then it hit it. It's nice. Okay, NG. We've been seeing a bit of a rally here. May well be a bull flag forming. We almost had a bit of negative divergence here, but it wouldn't have been a lot. Could be bottoming action here, but I'm leaning towards a bear flag, setting up a retest this low. I do have an obvious target below in about the 2.7 area, which I'm not looking out for. GC. We had a nice looking double top set up here, and it broke up from that. I'm still wondering, we are still owed a retest the all-time high on gold, and I'm watching out for that. This is not showing any significant sign of weakness so far. SI, we had a little IHS. We had this double top breakdown, and then we had this little IHS break up. We made the IHS target, and it's continuing higher. I'm wondering about a retest this high. That could well be setting up a larger double top, but maybe, just maybe, GC can go and make that target at the retest of the all-time high while it was doing it. That could be setting up a larger reversal. On Palladium, we've got a decent-looking head and shoulders, not awesome, but not bad, which has broken down. Although actually, in terms of the right shoulder highs, I wonder if a better-looking head and shoulders would actually be here. Let's have a quick look at that for a moment. I'm wondering whether I should have drawn that in. Okay, bear with me a moment. We've got a minute. I think this might be a better option for Palladium. I'm going to delete that trend line there. I'm going to move the arrow to there, I think. Yeah, more or less. That gives us a different target, which would be easier to reach, and actually gives us better quality head and shoulders. This I would have more confidence about it reaching. It's still significantly below. This has got a target in about the 1115 area. I think that looks doable, and I think this is a better head and shoulders, so I'm redrawing that. All right. Could this be a flag? Doesn't really look much like one at the moment. Platinum, equally, we don't have any downside targets there. The head and shoulders are long since made target. Is this double bottom breaking up? Kind of. It's looking like a bear flag forming here. I'm wondering about a retest of this low. All right, looking at HG, we've been forming a very, very gentle bear flag. We could see a little higher here, wondering about 4.5, 4.51 maybe, and then a retest of the low, which is the obvious next step. We had a weak 6-minute buy signal, and this was a very weak delivery, but that's now reached possible near-miss target, so I'm disregarding it. USD, we have already covered. KC, this still looks like a triangle forming. SB, I'm leaning towards a foul here. I think we This is starting to look improbably wide on the right shoulder, and if we're not going to see that, then I'd be leaning towards seeing a retest this low here in about the 15.4 area. Looking at CC, the head and IHS broke up. The head and shoulders broke down and maybe failing, and that failed. This may be failing as well. If it does fail, I'd be leaning towards some kind of a triangle forming here, which is generally the only time I see like two patterns like this fail in a row. CT, seen a bit of a rally here. I'm still looking for a retest this low here in the 66.25 area. I would love to see a big spike up, which could get us over this trend line here, but I'm not seeing much sign of that at the moment. Lumber, we broke down, well, we had the sell signals made target. We broke down from a little head and shoulders looking for a target in the 666 area. I am wondering if we might be seeing a large high forming here. So at the minimum, I'm expecting to see this target in the 666 area reached. ZW, I've seen a break over short-term declining resistance. That's not necessarily that significant. We do have targets below. On corn, we actually made the targets below. So although I do have an alternate target, which could be even lower. Soy has got targets below as well. I'm still leaning downwards on all of these, but we are having an attempt at a rally here. Soybean oil, we've got a very nice looking double top target, which is down in the 52.2 area, and I'm still expecting that to get made too. We have got a 60-minute buy signal fix. It's not really delivered anything so far, and it may not. Live cattle. I was looking for a retest this high, and we've almost got it. This could be the second high of a double top. And lean hogs, we've got, this could be a flag here, and I'm wondering about it. I don't have any decent resistance trend line here, at least last time I looked. Nope, still don't. But I am wondering about it. Hang on, wait a second. Sorry, just to check. This doesn't look like a decent trend line. And it's not. We could go a little higher and set one up, but I'd be expecting to see it a little higher first. But at the moment, we have got a potential fail here. If we continue higher, then I'd be beyond a retest. Then I'd be looking for a retest this high here. Otherwise, we could be setting up a retest of the low. But it would be it's a little large for that to be the second high of a double bottom. All right, great. Let's have a look at questions. No questions, so I think it's a wrap. I'll catch you guys again tomorrow morning, and everyone take care.